There we go. Okay. My headphones are not connecting. I don't know why. I'm gonna try one more thing, which is disconnecting them from my television. And let's see if that does the trick. Oh, da-da-da-da-da. Super, super fast. Here we go. Brian's in a meeting. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Maple just jumped onto my chair here. Hey, buddy, hold on. Come on, disconnect. And then maybe I will be able to use my headphones. Maple, what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? All right. Hope that worked. All right, buddy. This is not the place for you. Oh gosh. Okay. All right. And can you hear me? Um, Brenda? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Maple, not right now, buddy. Not right now. He's digging his nails into my leg right now, buddy. You're fine. Go over there. They have food, they have water. He just wants attention right now. Okay, here we go. I have quite a few things to share with you today. Um, yeah, so hello, everyone. I hope you, for those who celebrate, I hope you had a good Easter. Let's see here. Okay, so the first thing is found some really cool succulents at Home Depot. I get a lot of succulents from Home Depot because they've been especially carrying some really interesting species. And so I went little nuts and bought 3 species of chryssulas. So chryssulas are like the jade plant family. And I have a couple different types of jade, but I fell in love with this one. And I just have to show you. It's so pretty. The variegation, this guy is almost like pure yellow with pinks. It is absolutely beautiful. And this one, I've never had this one before. It's the Chryssula ovata mosaic variegata. Absolutely gorgeous. So, so beautiful. I have some different varieties. I have the red edge. I do have like the ogre ears, which is a mutation that causes them to look kind of like a straw, like the ogre, like an ogre's ear, and that's a monstrose type of mutation. And then I have the sunset, where the tips are yellow with a red edge, but I didn't have this one. So really, really beautiful. They were everywhere. So they might be in a Home Depot or a Lowe's near you. So it's the mosaic jade. If you can find it, definitely pick one up because they're so beautiful if you're into jades. Another Chryssula I grabbed was the Morgan's Beauty. So it kind of reminds me of the Chryssula dubia, but it's not as fuzzy. It does have these kind of rough, but these kind of rough perforations here, but it's not like fuzzy at all. But it's really nice and chunky, really cool looking plant. It has like a little kind of purple. I'm not sure the camera's picking that up, but really, really pretty plant. Different. I'd never had it, so usually I kind of go with that. If it's something that calls my attention and I've never had it before, I'm like, all right, well, let's try it. Because then it's a great learning experience. Can I keep it happy? And if I can't, if I like it enough, I'm gonna definitely look for it again and try another route. So so you can totally do that. And then this one is the Chryssula multicava bleeding heart. Maple, of all the places for you to jump, that was the worst idea in the world. So I have a little table here with some rare plants, and Maple has decided to jump on said table, and he's going to end up bringing everything down. I don't know what to do with you right now. Okay. All right, got him off the table. Let's see how long that lasts. I might have to lock him in the bedroom. I don't know why he's being like this today. So, um, Chrysula multicava bleeding heart. And this one's really, really beautiful. There were other ones that I liked how their cluster formation was, but they had a lot of cold damage. So this one looked at least like it made it through the cold damage. So I decided to go with this one, but it looks green on top, but then the bottom, it's all burgundy. Really, really pretty. This one has a little bit of cold damage. That's perfectly fine. In comparison to the other ones, this was the best one. Let me turn, I think it's this one, or is it this one? Okay, it was that one. There we go. So really pretty green on top, this gorgeous, gorgeous burgundy on the bottom. And it's already coming out with new growth. I've had it now for the last week in, yeah, just, gosh, this guy I picked up and the other two I found over the weekend. So just really excited to grab these. But yeah, so far so good. I'm gonna keep this one by the Western exposure because I really want to keep that red on there. Then the rare plants. So I mentioned about the oblique. And so I wanted to show you the difference. So I grabbed one from this local seller, and then I actually saw a really pretty Adansonii that he had. So I thought it was a great example, so I can show you the difference. So this is an Adansonii that I'm going to show first. So this is the one that you typically see in garden stores. This has a really beautiful wide leaf. I really, really like this one. But it also has some narrow form leaves, so you could see the difference. So there are different ones that you could buy that just have these thin, narrow leaves, or these big, kind of rounded, wide leaves. So you can buy them. These are appearing on the same plant, and I hope it keeps giving me these really wide ones because I really, really like those. But as you can see, there is a lot of leaf, right? So there's a lot of leaf. While they do have holes, there's still a lot of leaf, and the edges are pretty consistent, kind of straight. There might be a little squiggle, but for the most part, really nice clean edge. So this is a Monstera obliqua. So you can see here the difference in terms of the whole overall leaf shape. These, as you can see, have much more hole. They have much more hole, and they look like they've been through a rough time, and they are completely squiggled up. Really, really, really squiggly. A huge hole, right, in comparison to leaf. It's just mostly hole. And so here we go. And they're much more delicate. So with the Adansonii, they feel like just like a nice thickness to them, like a sturdiness. And obliqua, they come off and they feel even so much more delicate, and the leaves are so much more thinner. So absolutely beautiful. I'm getting orchid bark on my desk. Sorry. But absolutely beautiful. I was really excited about this one. There was another one I was considering getting, and it had a really long runner, but this one had the most leaves, so I opted to get this one, and it's already putting out a new leaf. So I'm not too worried about this. It had a little bit of yellow on this leaf, but thankfully it's pest free. And so, yeah, so far so good. So it's absolutely beautiful. It's a replacement for the one that I lost. So super excited to have it, but you can really see the stark difference between their morphology. But they look very similar. They're cousins, basically. But yeah, they're slightly different. Now, I want to show you. I'm not sure if I showed you last week, but this is the tortum. So this is the philodendron tortum, and it has a new leaf coming in. It looks like ramen. I like how these look. Really beautiful palm-like leaves, really gorgeous. So I'm going to be fixing up a greenhouse that I have in the kitchen because the fan and the humidifier weren't working really well. So I took the plants out of there. So I'm kind of redoing the whole thing. And then I replaced my Amedrium silver. So absolutely beautiful coloration, really blue, really pretty blue. So these guys are going in there. But dun dun dun, this is okay, I think I'll show this one first, and then I'll show the creme de la creme. The plant I never thought I would say that we own ever in my life. So Brian, if any of you have been with us for a little while, know that Brian is obsessed with variegation. So I'm moving my computer back so I can fit this in here. And so he has quite a few Monstera albos, and he has a Thai constellation Monstera, which it's like about that big. So this was a big wish list plant of his, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So far, it's doing great. There's no sign of yellowing. So far, very happy. So we're gonna keep it happy. It's very heavy, so hold on. Especially he just watered it like on Saturday. So so this is yes, Synth. So Synth is asking, is Brian as avid a buyer as you each weekend? Yes, very much so. He will maybe get one plant per weekend. I usually get a few, but I'll get like some succulents or something like that, and then maybe something that's like really nice if it's there. I'm happy with cheap succulents. I can get, those little succulents were $4.50 or something. So super cheap. Brian has much more expensive taste than I do. I'm very happy with like a little thing here and there. I can go into a grocery store and get one plant, and I'm totally happy. There's Brian in the chat. Sorry, I have expensive taste, he says. I didn't know you were tuned in today, baby. But yeah, but yeah, he has very expensive taste in comparison. But look at the size of these leaves. Like, how Kaylee Ellen does the face test. There you go. Look at that face test right there. Huge. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous. So far so good. It's very happy. These actually, for those of you that might not know about these, so these don't occur in the wild. These were discovered in a laboratory in Thailand, if I'm not mistaken. And it was as a result of tissue culture. So basically, they will take a sample of like a growth point with some growth cells. They'll put it into a very sterile environment. It's done in a completely laboratory setting. You can technically do tissue culture at home, but you would have to have like all of the supplies and like a hood, like an exhaust hood and things like that. So you basically would have to create a mini laboratory at home, and it can be pretty expensive. But I have heard of people successfully doing it at home if this is like a side thing that they're interested in and they're willing to get all the supplies and kind of basically turn their basement or their garage into a laboratory. But yeah, so they're kind of clones, so they're exact clones. and they're grown in this kind of what is called agar. So like a growth medium. It's like a clear gel, and yeah, they have a pretty stable type of variegation. So there are so many different types of variegation, but it also kind of culminates on whether it's stable or unstable. And so with this type of, especially in in Monsteras, Monstera albos have very unstable variegation. So they can eventually just what is called revert. They can go back to green. You can have some beautiful white splotches, everything's cool, and then all of a sudden you just start getting green leaves, and that's it. You're just getting green leaves. But with the Thai constellations, it's stable variegation. So no matter what growth, what leaf, there's always going to be some form of variegation on it. I really like the Thai constellation look. I love splashes. So these are splashes. Let me see if there's a better leaf here with some, there we go. I love splashes. Brian loves half moon. So a half moon, this one doesn't have one, but just to kind of, if you were to, this whole side was white, for instance, that's Brian's, yes. But he's a connoisseur for half moon variegation. But I love splash. I love this. Just, it looks like it's got covered in paint. I think it looks so beautiful. And I love the layers. So you'll have that dark green, that like creamy white, and then you'll see this kind of like a pastel green. Yeah, and yeah. Oh, Doug, today's a Q&A. I am just sharing some rare plants right now. But yeah, but you can pop questions into the chat. So just for now, I was just sharing some of our rare plant haul. But yeah, so we have this gorgeousness. Oh, is this the little Thai? Oh, this is the elbow. Okay, here we go. So thank you, baby. Great. So this is that Thai. Let me put this over here. And then this is the elbow that he picked up. And so the elbow, this one has some of that splash variegation. It had all this white. Now, this is the first to burn. If in the sun or any issues, the white is the first to go. So he cut that out. And then we ended up getting an all white leaf here. So this is an all white leaf. And so we're hoping, there looks like there's another leaf forming. So hoping about that to see if some growth will come in there. There's a lot of white on this stem. So I don't know if you could see here. So Brian and I were always like, oh, look at the candy caning, it's there's so much white. That's all white, all up on that edge. You can see that this is growing from that white part of the stem. So that means that that's going to end up being that white mutation. So we're hoping that if another growth point happens, it kind of lands, it's kind of emitted from a part that has some green, because you do want green on them. If it doesn't have green, it can't photosynthesize by itself. So this basically ends up becoming kind of like a parasite. So it's known as a sport as well. And so basically this can only survive because there's green on the mother side, on the mother stem. If we were to try to like separate this or cut it here or something like that, it would not survive. Synth says I picked the wrong husband. No, Synth, don't worry. So Brian and I have been together now, so in January was 11 years. Brian just started liking plants in the last 3 years or so. So it's not that he didn't like them. I mean, we had plants and he found them, cool, interesting. But he really started getting into them Yes, like Brian's saying, I had to find my niche. Exactly. So he started from what, if I'm not recalling correctly, correct me, babe. But he started with a regular Monstera that he bought. Oh, yes, and the Manjula. So that was his first variegated one. But he started with a little Monstera plant, regular green Monstera on his desk. And then he got the Manjula, and he was like, "Oh, I love this." And then he started getting a bunch of, I think you got a bunch of different pothos that were variegated, and hence it just skyrocketed from there. Oh no, Sid says, well, I've been married almost 78 years, not one scintilla of interest. I'm so sorry. I'm very glad that Brian got bit by the plant bug. Yeah. Oh yes, and so Brian is saying that the next he got was the Snow Queen pothos. And then he started kind of getting into what we know as fancy plants. So yeah, it escalated from there. It escalated from there. But yes, so we make a very dangerous duo at this point. So, but just so that you can see, so this leaf, wouldn't survive on its own. There is such a teeny, like there's a little green on the very tip, but that's not enough to have the leaf survive on its own. So here's to promoting more growth to it and hoping that it puts out a leaf on, at the other growth point where, hopefully, yeah. And the Brian says that the hopefully that the leaf is going to come out that has some green, so it looks like it might be coming in. Yeah, I'm hoping, because this is beautiful, but that's the problem with Monstera albos, is they'll either revert or you end up going all white. So it's a very hit or miss. But if you really like variegation and you like Monstera, that is much more consistent. So it makes a very lovely plant, especially, if that's your thing, if you like variegation. But as gorgeous as this Thai constellation is, yes, it is a glass pipette. And so I was using bamboo, like bamboo rods that I would cut for my little plants to kind of help them hold them up. And these are plants that are not climbing yet, that they just needed a little extra support. And I kept finding that the bamboo, it starts to deteriorate, and especially when I wanted to try to use it in water propagations. I wanted to kind of prop up the plant, but I was like, I can't use bamboo successfully. It starts to kind of rot, and I don't want that in the water. So I was like, wait, I have glass stirrers that I use in like my herbal preparations. And so I grabbed one, I used it, and I said, this is really nice. And so I bought, like 2 dozen, and I order them. These I ordered off Amazon, and I bought like 2 dozen, and now I have a couple in my water propagations, and we use them on our small plants that are not climbing. If it's something that we want to climb, then we'll use something like a moss pole. But for little plants, the pipettes are perfect. They're easy to clean. They're totally reusable. So yeah, that that's what we ended up doing. Jules is trying to get into the office there. But this is the last plant I want to show you. This is a plant that never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would have in my hands. I had only seen it in person once in Philadelphia. I think it was last year. And it was a small one, and it was hanging, a very small plant hanging. And it was so cool to actually see it in person, even though it wasn't a mature specimen. But I didn't get to hold it or touch it or anything like that. So, but it was cool to see. And then when the grower here said that he was going to get some in, Brian immediately was like, I need one of those. I want one of those. And then we sure did get one of those. Um, and so super, super excited. So if you've been here for a little bit, I have talked about plants that have been poached in the wild, their impact, um, and how now some plants unfortunately have become functionally extinct in the wild. So this means that there are plants that have been they've been removed so much from their native habitat that they can no longer fulfill like the remaining few that are in their habitat can no longer perform their original duty. So there's niche in their ecosystem. So maybe they had like a special symbiotic relationship with a pollinator, or they grew as a home for a specific type of bird species. So every single thing in your ecosystem, it has a place. It has there's something in there. And even no matter, even the annoying mosquitoes, right? They have a place in the ecosystem. And so it's very chaotic when a species becomes functionally extinct, because that is just a gaping hole. So right now in the wild, these are endangered. They are just, there's not enough to sustain a actual population in the wild. Now, these plants were grown from tissue culture. So these are cuttings that were grown and then, in Thailand, in different places where folks were able to use seed and things like that, and then they started using tissue culture. So I'm super excited. And I'm hoping that they start to return these to the wild if possible, because it would be great to save them. It'll be terrible not to have them in the wild anymore. So these were not poached, definitely not poached from the wild. But this is a philodendron spiritus sancti. Never, ever, ever, ever thought that we would have one. It's so beautiful. These, of course, are still the immature leaves. These get huge, absolutely beautiful. We're gonna be super, 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 super careful with this guy. It did while it was being shipped. Yes, Brian says the holy grail of houseplants. This was, so I originally, the Monstera obliqua was the top plant on my wish list. I thought I will never own an obliqua, and it's like a unicorn. I will admire it from afar, but I'll never own one. And then the price just dropped so dramatically, and it's now accessible. And now I have an obliqua for the second time. And now with the same with Spiritus Sancti. So Spiritus Sancti, these grown in, greenhouses. So these were not poached. They were going, especially during COVID, they were going for thousands of dollars. There were small ones going for like $2,000-$3,000, bigger plants for like $6,000-$7,000. It just seemed like this was a very far off possibility. And no, they have been successfully tissue cultured. They've been becoming much more accessible, and the price has just been steadily dropping. And this is so cool because there's so many really cool plants that you can now kind of own, learn from, take care of, because each plant is its own learning experience. And it's great. It's just seriously great if you're really a really kind of serious hobbyist. This is prime time because so many plants that we for the last 10 years have been told like it's so hard to get are now available in yes, and are now able to pick them up at garden centers. There's pink princesses at Home Depot. that's nuts. There's like it's just super super cool. So super excited. Um, this was the newest leaf, and it got a little crushed during the shipping process, but it hasn't hardened off yet. It's still super super soft. So it might harden off a little bit with a squiggle, but it's still functional. So that's totally fine. Um, but I am in awe. I keep looking at it and going, holy moly. Um, this is in our house. And yeah, so we'll keep you updated, hoping that it does okay. I know that they like slightly cooler temperatures. So they kind of prefer it to be under 80. So I think 68 to like 75 or something like that. It's they don't want to get too hot. Um, so it's gonna be fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Brian is saying yeah that they can thrive in 55 to 60 even. So yeah, so I'm excited to learn from this plant. Um and yeah, I'll let you guys know. Hopefully something that we can, you know, effectively grow, and I'd love to propagate it. I know it's very slow to propagate. So cuttings can take a really really long time to root successfully. Um so we'll see. We'll see. But I really wanted to share that with you all today, because we were super excited. So those are some new rare plants that we've well, not so rare, right? Not so rare anymore, plants that we've added. Yes, and the leaves do change when it matures. I can pull up a picture for you. So this is what, so spirited safety. Here we go. You're gonna want to see this. So let me do a quick screen share just to show you what this will look like. They get super, super pointed. Oh, here we go. Yes, crown jewel, and yes, the holy grail. Absolutely. Brian, you called it. Oh yeah, here, unicorn. There we go. Yes, a botanical unicorn. Absolutely. So oh, here we go. So we have variegated monstera. We have I've never seen this article, so I just typed it in. Um, that's what we need, because I have a Burl Marx fantasy. I need a Burl Marx flame. But here, so this is what you'll see. They also do get a red tint behind, like a pink red tint behind their leaves, as they mature. So super gorgeous. I love the bunny ears. So I love plants that have like the lobes on their leaves that like they stick out kind of like bunny ears. Really, really beautiful leaf. So I am excited to have this, and hopefully we can grow it up and get some really nice big leaves, because it's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. Oh yes, they are toxic. So all aroids, so philodendrons, monstera, the amedriums, what else? Epiprenums, so like pothos, those are all toxic to pets. So I just saw that it said toxicity. So yes, so be aware of that. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Does it let me? Yeah. Isn't that beautiful? So super excited to finally have one. This was seriously what I thought was an impossibility for the foreseeable future. So it's super cool, super, super cool. Like Brian and I totally geeking out. This was just like, wow, wow. So we're riding that wave of serotonin right now. So it's absolutely beautiful. Check if this is a plant that has been calling your name. definitely check that out. Try to see if your local rare plant sellers might start carrying them soon, because they're now more attainable. And so I think maybe within the next 2 years they'll drop even cheaper. Right now, still a couple hundred. I think this one was like how much was it, Brian? It was like two or three, something like that. Two. But I think it'll get. Oh, it was less than that. Okay. Oh no, I think the entire thing was three, because then I bought the Adansonii and I bought something else. So yeah, I think so. It was like less than two, something like that. So it's much more attainable. So hopefully. Oh, Judy is the Birkin. Yes, Birkins. That one was nuts too, because that was super expensive at one point. If anybody has never seen a philodendron Birkin, this guy. So now these are super cheap. Look at this one, $11.89. When before these, I remember when these were first being introduced, they were going for $80 to $100. Then they dropped down to like between 30 and 50. And then they dropped to like 15 to 20. So yeah, they're dropping, they're becoming much more accessible. So go get your Spur to Sanctity if you can, because it's I'm super excited. Yes, Myra says this plant is trading like cryptocurrencies. Absolutely. So if you really look into the plant trends, and I really recommend, if this is something that's of interest, because buying a lot of plants too ends up being more of an investment, because if you're like, okay, I can handle that care, I can take care of that, I can shield it from potential pests, it ends up being a really great investment, because then that's something you can propagate, make your money back, or even more if you can get more cuttings sooner. Now, of course, a fast turnaround in propagation, that's gonna be a much better investment. But yeah, it's a cool hobby, very cool hobby. So I recommend joining different plant groups and kind of watching, especially plant seller groups. You just watch those prices. Super fun to do. Totally, yes, cryptocurrencies. But yes, so yes, Terry, the philodendron Birkin. And Judy is saying that the Aquagenera pop-up is coming to Dallas next month. Oh, I'm excited for you. So Aquagenera is absolutely amazing. They seriously have such a great selection. If you are able to, if you're going to be, you should check Aquagenera. For those of you, they're great. They it's aquagenera.com, and see if they're having a pop-up near you, and put in those pre-orders. They ship their plants pretty well, and yeah, they're nice sizes for super cheap. So super cheap. You can absolutely, I think their obliquas drop down in price as well. So yeah, that's something to definitely consider.
If you don't, sorry,
no, you're
Judy.
fine.
If you don't pre-order, they do have plants there that they will also sell, correct?
They do, but they are usually slightly marked up. So because I think they use, I guess, the funds to help pay for the location. So I saw a plant, for instance, that I bought for $13 on pre-order, and at the actual event they had it for sale for about $40. So they might.
Dear, that's a big jump.
Yeah, so sometimes it's a bigger markup. I mean, there's still a lot of really cheap things. They had a lot of things that were like just $15. But I did notice that. So for some of the rarer plants, that you're like, holy moly, this deal is amazing, because it's the pre-order, it's like $30 for like this really cool Monstera. And then when you go to the actual event, if you wanted to not pre-order and just buy it there, it'll probably be like, you know, $50-$60 or something like that. So I highly recommend you pre-order if possible. But yeah, I mean, they still have some affordable things. But yeah, I noticed that there was just a really big, because I was like, even the plant that I had ordered was so much bigger than the one, and I was like, holy moly, they really put up that price there. And so like I think even like the Epiprenum albos, I think they were selling them for like 40 or something like that, but then they had them for like 15 or 20 when you actually tried to pre-order them. So try to pre-order if you're able to. Sometimes they do accept late pre-orders. So if you just missed the date, Brian has did that in the past where we had done pre-order with them before, and so Brian had spoken to like a rep and was able to put a later order. So you can always check. So it doesn't hurt to ask to see if they're still by any chance accepting orders. So you could take advantage of the, because it's super, like the pre-order pricing is ridiculous. It's so much more inexpensive than what you would probably get these plants at from local collectors or local plant shops. It's like greatly reduced. So highly recommend pre-ordering. But I hope you enjoy that pop-up, because even just going, it's amazing. The species you see, you meet some really great people. So it's a lot of fun. The event, and they usually have the event over 2 days. So it's usually like a weekend thing. And so it's a lot of fun. So highly recommend. Connie, great question. Tell us the best way to get a plant to climb a moss pole. None of my plants will really cling to them, so I suspect I'm not doing something quite right. Great question. So one thing is to make sure that you are putting the moss pole on what would be considered the back of the plant, where you're seeing those aerial roots, where the plant's generating all those aerial roots. And so that's usually a key indicator the plant wants to climb. It's ready to climb. So you start to see these little kind of these little squigglies, right, that are coming out from the back of the plant. They look like little nubs. And that's usually a really great indicator. The thing too is if you have a very low humidity, those aerial roots will actually start to desiccate. So they'll dry out and they will no longer be clingy. So they'll lose their ability to actually, they're no longer alive. So they won't cling to anything. So you want to make sure that it's in a good enough humidity where those aerial roots are thriving, where they look fuzzy to you. Not ridiculously fuzzy, but it almost looks like they're velvety. So you want to make sure that they're looking like that. And so that means they're alive, they're nice, they're supple, they're hydrated. And that is going to really much more effectively, right? Because they're living tissue. So they're going to cling to that moss pole. And then the other aspect of it is making sure that moss pole stays somewhat moist, has some humidity in it that makes it an attractive type of thing for that plant to climb. So I would say you can use a spray bottle to kind of moisten the pole a little bit. I have seen folks also use, there's so many new types of poles coming out. But I saw this super cool pole. I don't own it, but it comes with like an attachment on the top, so you put like a water bottle and it kind of goes down and it kind of waters the entire moss pole, which I thought was super cool. But there's just so many new types, and there's also the types that are like plastic on one side and then moss with like a cage type of material, like a plastic on one side. So there's no moss on the back side. So it's kind of just focused for small plants. So So those look cool. I haven't tried those, but those look really, really cool. So I know that the options in terms of moss poles are great. But if you just want to, so let's say your roots are looking great, your aerial roots looking awesome, right? No problem there. You have your moss pole, and you're keeping it adequately moist. Now, not super, super moist. It's just a little bit damp. Then to actually start to make that connection, right? To get them to actually stick, you're going to want to use some type of tying. I would recommend Velcro plant tape. It doesn't have to be Velcro brand, but just plant tape. It's just, I feel it's less abrasive to the plant. So one side that you put towards the plant stems is really soft. And then the opposite side is Velcro. And so they come in like these big rolls for like $4. It's super inexpensive. And so you just kind of measure it out, cut, and you can do that tie. They're also reusable. So I love that rather than like the plastic ties or twist ties, which can cause damage to your stems. So highly, highly recommend plant tape if you're able to get some. I've ordered it from Amazon. I originally was buying it from like Home Depot. But I've seen it everywhere. I've seen off brands too. So I know it's something that's becoming readily available. But I think that's probably your best bet. It's just like a safer thing. I have seen people use even things like pantyhose, like ripped pantyhose or strips of material, like you know, you can do that too. But I just like the that plant tape because it's just very soft. And then you can also, as the plant grows, if it's a little too tight, if you cut it off, you can easily replace that, or even if you have enough slack, you can kind of open it slightly. So it's great, but that at least will keep it kind of held. So you're going to want to put it on some points so that the moss is coming into contact with those aerial roots. And then you're just going to kind of keep watch. So kind of keep checking that moss every time you see that it starts to get a little bit dry. Give it a little spray. This in turn will also keep those aerial roots nice and moisturized, and this should stimulate that growth. So humidity is very much a big key component to successfully getting that bond to be created. So it's humidity, and not like sopping wet humidity, not where it's like soaked. But you want that moss to be slightly damp for it to attach effectively. I have heard people say that planks are so much better, but I don't necessarily agree because you can only get a plank so big, and it's not something you could easily add to. So if the plant outgrows that plank, I mean, I feel like you would end up having no choice but to rip it off the plank, get a taller plank, and start all over. And I would just be, that would be insanely frustrating for me. So what I like about a lot of moss poles and like the ones that we use the ones that they're hollow in the center because they are expandable. And so you just take one, and like we have our Monstera esqueleto, and right now 1, 2, 3. So when I started her on her moss pole, it was one pole, and then she shot up a runner that just keeps going. And so I put another one, and then it kept going, so I had to put another one. So now she has 3 moss poles.
I think that's my issue, is the moisture level and that's what I'm working with, is the Monstera back here.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and I think it's a moisture issue in the pole. So that's it. Yeah, and I am using the ones that are hollow that you can stack. So
Perfect.
yeah, and it's I'm just using just the wire, the plant wire that typically comes with those poles. But yeah, I think I want to switch to like the rags that come with, like when you make the rag reeds, things like that. But like at least like pantyhose or something is a great idea. So
yeah,
I'll probably switch to that. That's much softer. with the,
Yeah, because like the
the-
plastic, it's just so abrasive, and if your stem starts to thicken, it just cuts into him.
yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
I didn't think
welcome.
about the moisture factor, duh. And you know,
Yes.
I missed I missed him, but I guess the mist isn't enough to actually cut through on the pole
Yeah.
itself.
So you might have to like do that turn where you're kind of, here's your pole and here's your aerial roots, and you have them kind of secured, your stem secured. So kind of focus on just kind of misting that general area where the aerial roots are
Yeah.
and the mosses. So because you want to make sure those aerial roots are nice and supple. You want them to look alive and beautiful, because that then they're going to be working. If they start to dry and they just become like wrinkled and dehydrated, it's not gonna attach.
Yeah. Okay. You would know. Oh, and I emailed you a couple weeks ago too about helping you with your research. So let me
Oh,
know.
okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm still catching up.
Yeah. No worries. No worries. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, that's awesome. Seriously awesome. Yeah, folks, I literally spent this last week working on just creating kind of like a command center. So I made like a task list, and it became my hyper focus. And so I was literally staying up until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, quite a few times this last week, just kind of putting all these things like, okay, well, what's the tasks and how do I break these down, and what are like the subtasks, and yeah. so it's because I need volunteers. I need help doing a couple different things, whether with Urban Garden or with Herbalists Without Borders. And so that creating kind of a game plan has become my main thing. And so I know I haven't been looking at my emails. It's just it's so overwhelming. So I need to yeah. I need to like sit down and just deal with it. But yes, I will do my best to get back to everyone. And someone trying to see if I oh, I don't know. Synth, I just saw your message about hearing an ad for a car. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, and then Tanya says, speaking of Albo Monstera, I have a cutting propagating in Sphagnum perlite mix. That's a nice mix. A new leaf is coming in. Is it better to transfer to soil before or after the new leaf unfurls? I would say after, and I would wait for the new leaf to harden. So, so that just means where it stops when you get a brand new leaf, as you could see, like with the Spiritus Sancti. It's like this lighter green in comparison to everybody else. So let me see if I turn it this way. Kind of hard to see with the camera, but this is an older leaf, and so it has like more texture and it just looks a little darker. And this is a much lighter green. And it's still super soft, right? So it's like malleable at this time. Still super soft. So I would wait till it hardens off. It becomes it just kind of becomes nice and it darkens up, becomes hard. It looks like it's good, it's settled, right? I would wait till then, because this whole process of unfurling the leaf and hardening the leaf, the plant is channeling a lot of energy into making this happen successfully. And the problem would arise, that if you were to try to kind of replant it, kind of transplant it into a better growth medium, it then turns its attention, the plant turns its attention and energy into, holy moly, my roots just got switched over. It might stop. It might actually kind of like stop doing anything, right? Because it's like trying to settle in. Sometimes plants do go through transplant shock. And then they usually will cut off energy, right? to anything that they were actively doing at that time. So sometimes it's maybe a new flower was coming out and you were excited about the flower. You thought, oh, let me repot it so the flower will be much more comfortable. And then the flower dies. It can also do that with new leaves. So, oh, look, I have a new leaf. And then it might just stop. It just basically stops taking, kind of diverting its energy that way. And it'll focus on those roots. And it's like, all right, trying to grow those roots, kind of reassess what kind of substrate are we in, what's happening. And so it just kind of causes the plant a little bit of stress there. So it'll always focus whenever the roots are moved in any way. It will tend to it'll kind of focus its energy on those roots before growth. So there's this common saying, I did not come up with it. I don't know who came up with it, but it's always roots before shoots. And so that is always the case. So if you ever do anything that messes with the roots, like a new pot, anything like that, the plant will focus first on the roots. Screw the growth that it just had growing. It'll just focus on those roots. Once those roots are established, it'll go, okay, I can divert my energy back to growth, right? Because the roots are much more important to the plant than, yes, of course, the leaves bring in food and things like that. But if it doesn't have its anchor, its ability to, collect water and nutrients, and like hold itself in, and also for storage, because they store a lot of sugars and things in their roots. If that primary center is not protected and established and good to go, it's not going to focus its energy on its leaves. So definitely, if your plant has a brand new flower that came out or a new leaf, wait until it either finishes flowering, or if it starts to go to seed, if this is a plant that you pollinated, right? Some plants, they don't have perfect flowers, so they need a male and a female flower to cross-pollinate. If it's not something that has seeds, then wait till the flower dies back and you're totally fine. If it is something that you wanted to go to seed, I would wait until the seeds mature and you collect that seed head, and then maybe do it after that, because you don't want to interrupt that, especially if you waited that long to get those seeds to develop. But yes, and then the same with the new leaf. I would just wait until at least it hardens, and then transfer it. And still know that sometimes if it's in shock or anything like that, sometimes the newer leaf tends to be the one they might let go. And so just, no. Be warned.
Okay. And I was wondering, should I feed it, like give it a little fertilizer or liquid fertilizer? I wasn't sure if I'm supposed to do what I should do with it to help it finish, because it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wouldn't recommend, don't fertilize it right after switching it over if you're talking
Okay.
just for now.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a very nice temperature, if it's growing, that means it's a pretty adequate like temperature in your home to stimulate growth. So you could, if you haven't fertilized in a while, you could add a little bit. I would just make sure it's as diluted as possible so
Okay.
it doesn't burn the roots. But you can.
Yeah, it's a stem cutting. And I was just also curious, I read something about, because I was going to put it in soil this weekend, and then I see the leaf has actually come out. I just saw the little nib, 5 days ago, and now I could see the leaf. But I was going to put it in soil because I got worm castings. Do you know about, what is it, worm tea?
Yes.
I was thinking about that.
You could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very gentle. So if you wanted to do that, so for folks that don't know, you can actually use like worm castings, put them in water, and I kind of leave them sometimes even overnight. Some people do leave it for a few days, but you can do that overnight, and it just becomes this really great thing that then you can then water your plants with. So, and it's super, super gentle. So I use worm castings at home. I also use fish water at home. and I go with the most gentle form of fertilizer that I can use out of fear, because I have had fertilizer burn in the past. Did not go well. And so I've kind of steered away from like the commercial fertilizers, and I'm like, okay, obviously I want to feed my plants, but I want it, what's the safest safest thing that I can feed my plants without having to freak out? Oh my gosh, maybe I was a little too heavy-handed, and I actually ended up doing a disservice to the plant, rather than helping it. So yes, worm castings, worm tea, the worm casting tea works great. So you can definitely do that. Yeah, and just make sure that since it is a stem cutting, yeah, make sure that there's just a nice amount of like air circulation in your mix. So a nice amount of either like perlite or like the orchid bark, like wood chips, things that are going to create these pockets of air so that it's not going to sit in like mud or anything like that. Because yeah, so that it'll you don't want that, especially with stem cuttings, and sometimes some stem cuttings only have one node. Those are always really nerve-wracking for me because I'm like, protect the node. And so
Okay.
so try to make it as fluffy and air circulating as possible, so that
I mix perlite and moss, but I have it sort of sealed up. Let me not break my cover.
I mean, that looks great. You could honestly leave it like that for a little while.
Yeah, that was my next question. Could I actually leave it in here for a while? Because there's a lot. Okay.
Oh yeah, you could totally leave it there for a while until it really starts to give you some serious roots. Give you some nice roots with like root hairs on them. So
I bought it a month ago on Facebook in one of the groups, and it was it had water roots, and I wanted to see if I could get better roots. So it's been in here for a month, and then I saw all of a sudden the little tip, and now there's like a new leaf. So I was just about to transfer it, and I was like, I was going to do it yesterday. I was like, well, maybe I should wait because then the leaf will stop. I wasn't sure, but I thought I wanted to put it in soil so it would get the nutrients from the worm castings and whatever, because it's just water and moss and perlite in here. There's nothing else. So
yeah,
okay.
no, that you can definitely leave that in there for a little while.
Okay.
And that looks great.
Yeah, I'm really
the
excited.
variegation.
Yes, I'm excited.
That is so great.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Seriously, folks, those Facebook groups, they're wonderful. It can be very dangerous for your wallet.
Yes, and you don't have to worry about getting scammed because you just go meet them and swap in person. So it was great.
Exactly. Yes. And I like that a lot of the groups, they very much hold people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was anything kind of fishy, because sometimes some sellers will like ghost, that has happened, and everyone will be behind you and go so there's a really great sense of solidarity in those groups. I really like those plant groups.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
You're very, very welcome. Let me see here. Oh yeah, and Judy was saying that she was just reading about those Spirit to Sanctity, I think. And let me see. Going down. Oh, and it's on a weekend. Perfect, Judy. Have fun at that Equigenera. At the Equigenera pop-up, because it's so cool. So Judy's asking if I own a Calathea mosaica. I love the veining on this plant. Yes, I do not own one. I love the veining. I have seen a couple. I actually saw them being sold at Home Depot, not this weekend, but last weekend. And they did have a couple, but what I just think is so unfortunate about these big box stores is sometimes they leave the plants like outside when they're shipping them. They leave them outside way too long before they bring them indoors. and they get that cold damage during the winter. And so they had some leaves that looked great and some that didn't. And I was like, calatheas can be very, very sensitive. And so I was like, if it's already has cold damage, maybe these good leaves are going to turn black, and they might look nice right now, and they're already, damaged. So I didn't actually grab one. I've never had one of those. I've had other types of calathea. I think I've had a hard time with old before. When I used to have calathea, I had a hard time with them, because I as you see, I have a lot of different plants, and so they needed just a little bit more attention. They needed me to kind of check more frequently as to when they're thirsty. That was the big thing. I could keep the humidity and the lighting was great, but sometimes I would kind of notice them when I could see that they were already super thirsty, and I was like, oh my God. So I started doing that. I currently do have a Tenanthe, but it's in, this is the only reason it's been doing so well. Hold on, let me move my desk has wheels, so I'm just pushing it back up. Let me grab this from the bookcase here to show you. So it's literally in a glass dome with water, and hence why it's been doing wonderfully for a while now, for months. It's been doing great, and it's because I have it in water. I do change the water every time it looks a little cloudy. This actually is in need of a change, and yeah, it's been putting out new growth. So far so good. And it's just in this little dome thing. I actually got this at Petco, of all places, Petco. They started selling houseplants. I guess because they're trying to promote like the bioactive terrariums and things like that. So they really, at least the ones here in New York City, in like the last 3 Petcos I've been in, they started selling houseplants. So it's super cool, but I got that from there. So far that one's doing great because it's right within my eye line. If it's low on water or cloudy, I can immediately see it, and it's much easier for me to maintain. So I kind of prefer this than a soil medium. So if I could find Calathea mosaica that they might be growing in a similar way, I feel like I might get it. But I was nervous about the ones I saw at Home Depot because of that cold damage. But yeah, I'm worried I would let them dry out. So a lot of the plants that I have are succulents or aeroids where I don't have to worry really about them. I can water them like every 2 weeks or so. So it's not too crazy, but yeah, and we tackle basically a different section. Sometimes like midweek and on the weekends, it's a different section, so that we can get to everyone. And Brian and I are actually working on an updated like a plant list. So I wanted to create, because I had before this really long Google sheet, but it was just impossible to do. And so since I've been playing a lot with Notion, which is a really cool program, it's like a platform that you can do a bunch of different things on. You can make to-do lists, and you can do filing. You can do so many cool things on Notion. And that's what I've been working on creating like my command center. And I might just create a whole thing just for my houseplants. So I want to separate it by sections. So like living room window, TV stand, bookshelf, things like that. So that I can kind of write down all of the species that are right there, like even in our window, right? Just our western window that's across from me. Oh, you could see it in my glasses. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 plants just by that window, Then just right off next to it by the TV stand, I don't even know. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 on the TV. So it's like I wanna just separate them, group them up, because when I water, when we do any care, any cleaning of the leaves, any upkeep of the plants, I like to just do every single plant in that section. And so, but I want to keep a better track of like when I give who, like worm castings, who I repot, who's the newer one in the group, when I do these waterings, just so it's easier. So when we do go away, so that's the big thing, is when we go away, like when we were in Costa Rica, I want to leave someone with basically like a playbook. Like, here's the manual. This is how often they get watered. So this is when you can expect to have to water them, if it falls within the time that they'll be kind of plant sitting. And it's just kind of a nice history on each plant, right? So I can see, when did we buy the plant? Here's the care. Something started to go wrong with the plant. I can kind of check back, and maybe there was something that we were doing that was part of the routine that the plant didn't like, something like that. So it's like I want to build kind of like a little plant command center as well, because I think it'll just be super, super helpful, since right now, yeah, we have about 300 plants in the house. Like, so mind you, that's like, so I said like 15 by the window, we have 14 on the TV stand, and there's 51 behind me. So, and that's not even counting the ones, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the bookshelf. Yeah. So that's just our living room. And so it's like that in every room. So I want to do that. And so I'm thinking, if I can kind of work on this thing and I like it, maybe I can create a template that then I can share with everyone. So that's the plan. So if any of you are interested in something like that, let me know. If any of you have experience with Notion, I invite you to, check that out. See if you can create something you'd like. But it's a shareable thing. So when you create a Notion template, you can share it out. So that's what I'm thinking that I can do, because I think it'll be helpful to folks, especially if you are trying to manage very large collections. So yeah. Oh, this is a good question. So Doug just asked, that it says they've been given a cuttings of the variegated string of pearls, but they don't have any white balls. And how do I propagate or start growing it? Great question. So I have a one behind me, actually. Here we go. Here we go. So this is an example of the variegated string of hearts here. I like the little white pink that they have, super pretty. Yeah, but you don't have any of the white balls. So for those of you going like, what in the world are you talking about? And so I don't think these have any yet. No, they don't. But basically they create their these little rhizomes. So right where you see, so I'll take this section here, right where you see these two leaves joining, right at the node, they'll start to develop a little kind of looks like an air potato. It's like a little ball. And they're storing energy in there. And that means that can be cut and propagated. And you can actually cut right here, so just so that you get those two leaves with that little ball. And you don't want to completely bury that little ball into the soil. It's kind of very superficial, but it'll root, and you'll get a whole vine from that eventually. So but what happens when you get a cutting, It doesn't have those rhizomes. You can still grow them. You can actually, they water propagate really nicely. So I would say that if you have a nice section of the vine with some nodes, you can just pop that into water. You can totally do that. If you have leaves all the way down, you might have to remove some of the leaves at the base where you're inputting it into water. You could, because if you put those leaves into water, they might start to rot, and so that might hurt the actual node. So you might have to remove those leaves that are close to where you're dunking them into water. But otherwise, I mean, they really do root readily in water. So I have done that. And so it's a Ceropigia. So you can absolutely do that if you don't have a rhizome. Of course, rhizomes are much more helpful, but if it can still do it. So no worries. I would highly recommend water propagation. Now, if you're kind of like a little nervous about water propagation, another one you could do is if you get crushed perlite, you could, or like perlite, but you can put it into like a food container. And so if you have like those little plastic containers, you can put some perlite, you can put the vine basically, and then with like a squeeze bottle or something, add some water at the base, but just not where it's going over the perlite, but just kind of staying under. But then that humidity will stimulate those roots to grow as well. That's another option. Another option is if you want to grow directly on soil, which a lot of growers do, is you can get those floral pins. So they look like really long staples, but they're for plants. And you can put it onto soil and then kind of clip it into the soil. And just the surface of the soil, keep it somewhat moist, not like super, super damp. And you don't want to completely have the whole thing, the whole pot full of water. It's like that first top inch. You can mist it, just to keep it a little bit wet, and that'll stimulate those nodes. And just make sure that one of those nodes is, it looks like an elbow on the vine. It's like a little bump. That's a node. Make sure that is coming into contact with the soil. So you can pin those down with those giant like plant staples. So they're called floral pins. And so you can do that too. So there's option. I think water is probably the best, but you can try those if those options are much more kind of attractive. So you could do that. Cytokinins, cytokinins, plant hormones at root tips that regulate leaf development. Yes. Oh, Paula, I have a Rex begonia that keeps growing and growing. I've been taking cuttings to propagate and control the size. Is there anything I need to know about this plant? Thanks. Oh, great. Rex begonias are amazing. There's so much variety in Rex begonias. And the fact that yours is growing and growing and you're having to cut it to keep it in control is amazing. So whatever you're doing is great. I mean, I think the biggest takeaways, like Rex begonias, you either have the touch or you, or you don't. I have tried with Rex begonias. I don't have the touch with Rex begonias. I did have a really gorgeous cane begonia, a griffin. It was called a griffin, and it had these gorgeous kind of, the leaves reminded me of like the castor bean type of leaves. Super, super cool. I think it was called a griffin. I had that for a couple years. That was like my favorite begonia. And that was in my bathroom when I had that thrip infestation. And so I lost that one to thrips, which that one hurt because I had that for a really long time and it has some gorgeous, gorgeous leaves on it. But yeah, no, begonias, I mean, I love the flowers, absolutely love the flowers. And yeah, they can be somewhat temperamental. They don't, I mean, the cane begonias like to completely dry out before I water them again. Rexes don't like that. So So Rex begonias, if you have that magic touch where you know exactly when you have to water them, they're totally fine. I found that you don't really have to fertilize them too much. With the cane begonia I had, it's just fish water. That's all I had to do. So I think, yeah, they're not something that you have to kind of go kind of overboard with. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome, and it propagates readily. I mean, begonias do propagate rather readily. They're a species, for those of you that don't know, that a lot of begonia leaves you can actually propagate just with the leaf. And so it's super cool. It's like it's a plant that persists. So it wants to survive, and it'll propagate in so many different ways. And so you can do leaf, the actual leaf cuttings, and some with a leaf with a stem and things like that. But yeah, they're great. They're great. So I'm excited that you have this. You do have the touch. You do have the touch. So keep taking care of it the exact way you've been taking care of it. Yeah, nothing too crazy. If it's happy and growing, then you're definitely meeting all its criteria, its care criteria. Oh, and Judy's asking, so how much worm casting do you use for the tea? That's a great question. So you don't want to make it too strong. And so because it kind of you want to kind of do, let's say if you were to do one of those mason jars, what is it? I'm trying to remember if they're 8 cups. I think they're 8 cups. So I mean, I would say even for something like that, 1 or 2 teaspoons, maybe 3 teaspoons, but I think 1 or 2 teaspoons, and you can leave it overnight. That makes it super, super gentle. You don't want to like do a bunch of worm castings. That might make it a little too nitrogen rich, might make it a little too strong. That can end up hurting your plants. So, less is more. Less is more. So, yeah, you can. It's like kind of like making tea, right? So, but a very diluted tea. So you're not going to be doing too much. Doug is asking, does the glass dome have a cork or rubber top? Great question. So this is cork. Just cork. That's all that it has. Yeah, this one just has that. I have I don't have any that have a rubber top. We do have this dome that we just bought, that I actually just watered over the weekend. And this one. So this one's doing really cool. It has liverworts and a couple of different species of moss, and you can see the condensation. So this one's super cool. This is just the glass dome. And yeah, it has its whole little ecosystem in here. I'm gonna actually drop some springtails in here. And I love the liverworts. It's really hard to see, but the liverworts are right there. Really, really like that. And the moss is looking nice and bushy. So it's happy so far. So gonna keep this guy nice and moisturized. And yeah, I'm gonna add some springtails to kind of keep, if there's no mold in here, but just in potentiality. So gonna do that. Just to keep it happy. Yes.
Do you have a webinar on terrariums? I have a huge one, and I just cannot get the environment right. I either overwater it or underwater it, and I can't get the condensation right. Mine is pretty big. It's probably a good 2 foot by 1 foot glass, with a cork top, and it does have a hole where you can actually squirt in your water. I just cannot seem to get the moisture level right. And I wasn't sure if you had a separate webinar on, you know, terrarium care or not.
Yeah, I do have a lesson plan. But if it's one of those bottleneck terrariums,
It is. Yeah,
okay.
it's a bottleneck. Yeah. I just can't get it right. I got it for Valentine's Day for my sweetie, and I just can't. And I've already lost one. I lost like a pothos in it, but it's got some pretty exotic plants in it. So I want to be very, very careful that I don't lose any more.
No, of course, of course. Do you have like a gauge in there? I would recommend. I don't think I have one.
I don't have a gauge.
But there's these little oh my gosh, what is it called? It's like a little white tube. It looks like a thermometer, but
yeah,
it's like super tiny.
yeah.
And it changes color. And so it goes from like it turns blue, I think, when it's wet, and then it turns back to white when it needs watering.
Oh,
But it's
wow.
like this really thin little thing. So that might work really well.
Okay.
If you have the long tongs to kind of put it in, you
Yeah.
can stick it somewhere maybe where you can see it, but maybe from an angle it's not visible if you don't want the aesthetics, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But or maybe like towards like the back where you can read it really clearly.
Mhm.
That might really help because it's small. And you can put it there, keep it in place, and that will actually change color and tell you as soon as it gets to where this is going to need a watering. So it might be a little bit more effective to help kind of keep that balance, because then you'll kind of have a sensor in there, kind
Okay.
of really telling you what's going on.
I've gone to the extreme from like desert to the point where I have fungus gnats now. So I've gone from one extreme to the other with this thing.
Oh,
I've never had terrarium before, so this is my first for me. Like I said, it's got some amazing plants in it, and he did a lot of research on this thing. It's got just these multi-dimensional levels of the sand and the dirt, and it's just like it's beautiful. So I do not want to mess this thing up.
no, no, I completely feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will check that out. So
Yeah, I try the sensor, and I would
Okay.
totally add springtails if you haven't.
I will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
try to see if you can find like a local seller or somebody that maybe in a local Facebook group, if that might be too. You can say, hey, does anybody happen to have springtails?
well, I'm in the Master Gardener program.
Oh, okay.
So I can get my hands on those. So
Oh, wonderful.
I'll do
Perfect. 'Cause that might help very much in terms of, managing any potential fungus that's growing. So it'll outcompete those fungus gnats.
yeah.
And if there was any of the leaves that ended up kind of rotting, and it'll just keep that in control so it doesn't become a problem.
Yeah, some of the leaves
the
are
other-
starting to yellow, and then some have died off already. I'm like, okay, what balance am I hitting? It's like I'm just going from one extreme to the other in that environment, and I can't find that middle ground. So
Oh,
awesome. All right, I'll tip on the springtails then.
yeah, springtails and that
Yeah.
sensor definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also Jesus, I'm trying to remember because I have all these tools, but I can't remember now where I put it.
Yeah.
But it's also a little sensor that does temperature. But it's usually used for like tanks. And so what you do is it's like a little sensor, and it's a long wire with a probe.
Mhm.
And so you usually kind of drop it in, and then it gives you a reading. So you don't have to leave it in full time if you didn't want to. But that might be good too, just for temperature. So if it's getting too cool inside of that terrarium and it's not getting enough air circulation, that would promote fungal growth.
Oh, you know what? I have a feeling that's what's happening because I am getting some white fungal growth too, as well. I've noticed that too. There's some little bit of white. Yeah, there's some white growth happening too. And so
Okay.
I've moved it It was not getting any light, and so I've moved it in to front of the window now to give it a little bit more light. Yeah, I need to really get on top of it and really monitor a little bit better than I've been doing. So
Yeah, because I think so. Like getting like that temperature gauge, that one
Yeah.
would be very helpful. The moisture gauge,
Mhm.
the springtails, and I would even consider getting a seedling mat. It's a heating mat.
Mhm.
And so you just plug it in. It stays at a pretty consistent temperature. And if you put the terrarium on top, it'll generate a little bit of warmth from the bottom. So if you're noticing that the inside is just staying too cold, that would definitely help keep it at a constant temperature. It would also help with the humidity. It'll bring the humidity up. But with the warmth, it'll just be better for the plants if the colder temperature is what's causing that fungus and causing the plants, to deteriorate a little bit.
I
So that
suspect
might
so.
be helpful too.
The temperature dropped here in North Carolina, like past week. It like dropped down, and I didn't bother to cut the heat back on, and so it got really cold in my apartment, and it's very, very possible that's what is happening. It's just that temperature. Very good. That's what I'll try. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Good luck. I hope you have a much more optimistic, update for us.
Oh yeah, I will.
I'll make sure to ask.
I always try these things that you tell me, and it always brings them back to life for sure. Thank you
You're
so
awesome.
much.
You're very welcome. Oh yeah, and O'Brien wrote in the chat that he has almost 20 plants just on his desk alone. Yeah. Oh, Paula, your begonia has never flowered. Oh no. If you want to get it to flower, if you want to stimulate your plants to flower, those that do flower, sometimes using a red wave, like a red spectrum grow light, it will actually trigger them to put out flowers. So if that was something of of interest, you can experiment with that. But all right. Oh, it's after 1, but thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. I was very excited to share this really cool haul with you guys. And so we will keep you updated. And I'm very honest. So if something's not doing well, I'm gonna tell you it's not doing well. So it's I'm super excited with the Spiritus Sancti, especially. This is a big responsibility. So we're gonna try to keep it happy, and I'll let you know what works and what we realize might not work, which I hope we don't go down that track. But yeah, we'll keep you updated. And once I actually hopefully this week I can do that and fix up that greenhouse to put these guys in. I will also share that. I'm gonna take some video kind of showing how we prepare it and we set it up, and yeah, to show everyone. So thanks so much. And Sue, thank you. Have a great one, everyone. Please enjoy the rest of your Monday, the rest of your week. So stay safe and happy planting, absolutely. So have a great one, everyone. See you next week. Oh,
Thank you again.
you're very welcome. Have a great one.